You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find. Welcome to the One More for the Good Guys podcast, where good guys gather to shed light on the good life, the people, and the good things that make it that way. I'm Mike McGill with my co-host, Jamie Akins. Now, raise your glass, lend us your ear, and let's have one more for the good guys. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find. Hey, everybody, McGill Billy here.
And I'm Jamie.
Nice to see all of you again. Thanks for tuning in. It is One More for the Good Guys podcast, coming to you live from the honky tonk like we do just about each and every week. Last week was a little different. We want to give another big shout out and a special thanks to our friend Robert Glick with Art de Fumar.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really fun episode. It was one of our first times. Well, not one of. It was our first time of ever having a Zoom call and all that stuff and doing over the video link segment for the episode for
Worked
the podcast.
Pretty well. I was really pleased with how easy that came about. So
no, I was too. It looked good, and Robert is just an amazing artist, and we're just thankful to have him as a friend. And we're also really, really thankful for all of you who've tuned in and have been watching, all of you who have liked and subscribed to Good Guys Cigars, to One More for the Good Guys podcast, on all of our social media efforts, which is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and of course, along with YouTube here with the podcast. So many, many thanks. Keep that up, please. Keep sharing it with your friends. Encourage them to like, follow, and or subscribe, because that really, truly does help the efforts and helps the pages in any form of the social media that we're talking about. So, hope everybody's had a good week. It's been a little bit of a crazy week, but we're still here. Sun still comes up. All that good stuff. But today we're talking about the University of Tennessee versus the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And we've got a little bit of history with that we'll share with you here on this special Saturday episode. But first and foremost, I am smoking the Jaime Garcia Reserva Especial in Bellicoso.
One of my favorite smokes, man.
It is
great.
I thought I had all this pulled up. It is a 5.5 by 52 ring gauge. I had never had this cigar in this size. I ran across a really, really killer special on it and picked me up a 10-pack of them. And this is the second one. I've had a really hard time of not smoking all of them as soon as I got them, because
back to back.
They're really, really, really good. Connecticut broadleaf wrapper with Nicaraguan binder and fillers. You're going to get a really, I was just telling Jamie, this thing goes through a lot of changes. We're through getting deep into the first third of this cigar, and I feel like it's a completely medium profile off the front, but you're going to get coffee. You're going to get some semi-sweet chocolate. You're going to get some espresso. You're going to get some wood flavoring. A little nutty. It's kind of got a long finish, as you would expect with a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper. But the first one I smoked, a lot of people ask us about doing a pairing with some of these of like what, either alcoholic or non-alcoholic pairings you would do with some of your cigars. And, I don't know if this one was where I just hadn't had one of these in so long that I really wanted one, or if that I really, really, really like this new beer. And a lot of times beers and cigars, there's a few of them that go together pretty well, but this is a really great beer that Jig and Reel has it down in Knoxville. It's draft brewed, imported from Scotland, but it's called a Bellhaven Brewery Scottish Ale. It's a nitro can, much like your Guinness cans, but this beer is really nutty and creamy, and it reminds me of what Newcastle used to taste like back years ago. Not until they changed the recipe. Newcastle tastes nothing like Newcastle used to, in my opinion.
That's a shame too.
It really is, because it was a really good beer. It's not very heavy. It's pretty light. But it's very, very rich, very decadent.
That's the word.
Very nutty.
Rich. I couldn't drink more than one of them.
I had a couple of them during a ball game the other night, and it was just perfect. It was perfect.
Over 3 hours.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, it's not like a High Life or a domestic beer that you're going to drink 5 or 6 of them. You're going to have a couple, 3 of these, and that's going to do you.
Very good at room temperature.
Nice.
I noticed this.
Yes.
As opposed to like a domestic Pilsner or something.
Yeah. But you can get these at the Boys Jig and Reel downtown, and you can also get them at Trailhead Beer Market. Joe has started to carry them now, but
great, man.
They come in these nitro cans. They're 5.2% alcohol per volume. Really rich.
Great finisher beer, man.
Nutty amber color
with that one.
Little hints of vanilla, and really goes good with this broadleaf wrapper. What are you smoking, Jamie?
I'm smoking an Oliva G. Which reminds me a lot of that beer.
Yeah, it really does.
And the way it tastes and stuff. This is a Nicaraguan cigar, but it has an African Cameroon wrapper on it. And we got these at, I guess, our place that everybody knows in North Carolina. Remember? Mm-hmm. And I forget what size they call this. They got some.
It's been a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
At least.
It's not a Bellicoso shape, though. I would say they're calling this a Toro.
I think it
feels.
Okay.
That feels.
I
less
thought they were
Toro.
Churchills.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, I guess they are. The Churchill is 7x50. I get you're right, probably. Either way.
Wait a minute. Say that part again.
You're right. I mean, twice this year.
We're going to start?
But anyway, you turned me on to these Cameroon wrappers, and I saw them up there and grabbed them, and we been smoking on them. I tell you what, man, these have gotten better. We've had them at least a year, and they just gotten better. They're just better. The first warm draw I took was vanilla. I mean, like I poured vanilla in my mouth.
Yeah,
these are wonderful. This is the tied for second best Cameroon wrapper cigar for me. My favorite is that Don Carlos. I think that's probably the prototype Cameroon. But this and the New World are like, that would be 1, and these would be like 1A and B, depending on what size you get. But I tell you what, this is Oliva G, and I have become an Oliva mega fan. And I started out not a fan at all. And I tell you what, if you say, "Hey, I got an Oliva," you get your hand ripped off.
They're just so consistent.
Oh, so good.
And, you know, an interesting tie-in, and we've talked about this briefly before, and I said we'd do an episode on it, and we will. But the Oliva family, I can't remember their name, but they are pretty much single-handedly to thank for still being able to get African Cameroon wrapper.
Yeah, they went in and saved it, didn't they, basically?
Yeah, and that's why it is of popular opinion that is why Oliva and Arturo Fuente get the best Cameroon stuff. They get the best grade leaves. They get the best grade tobaccos because of that effort way back when. But that would go really good with this beer too.
No surprise if those two brands are the best two Cameroon.
Yeah, there you go.
Cigars going. So
and one is over Dominican filler and binder, and another one's over Nicaraguan filler and binder.
That's right, and which is crazy because I prefer the Dominican. Right, the Don Carlos is a Dominican, right? So anyway, just wonderful cigar. The Oliva G. Now I'll tell you this. This is an observation I have, and I don't know if this is accurate or if it's just me or something I've noticed. I have noticed a lot of you ask about humidity levels and in your humidor and whatever. My recommendation on that is err on the side of drier. And I don't mean 10 points drier, but if you think, that 70-70 thing applies maybe in Arizona or somewhere. Here, 70 is too high for here, just the humidity level. Either way, I have noticed that Cameroon wrappers mold quicker than non-Cameroon wrappers. Now, is that something I just made up? And by seeing it several times, because I have seen it, I had one of these in my non-regular humidor, and it had a little speck on it. And I was like, whatever. And then it happened again in a different one. And you're like, oh, it's plume, which,
that's a whole nother
thing. But anyway, that's my observation. But this cigar is wonderful and priced to smoke too.
Yes, very much so. Very good bang for your buck with the Oliva stuff.
Man, this one is absolutely fantastic. It's the best one I've ever had by far.
They're really good, man. They're sweet. They're spicy. They're vanilla-y. They're sugar and spice and all things nice.
Yeah, and that size, I guess that is the Churchill, but man, that is a great size.
All right.
Bulldogs, huh?
What are you guys smoking? Put that down in the comment section. Yeah, the Bulldogs. Little bit of history with Mississippi State. Our last matchup was October 12th of 2019.
It's crazy. We don't play often.
No. And we won that matchup 20-10. And that was at Mississippi State. That was in Starkville. But over the years that we have played, we're 29-16 against the Bulldogs. 29 wins, 16 losses, 1 tie. And that looks like that was, we don't have a date on that. Longest winning streak was 6 games for us. And that was from September of 95 through October of 2008. Longest losing streak that we had was October of 1910 to October of 1920. Our home record against the Bulldogs are 14-7. And our away record is 13-9 with a conference record of 16-7-1.
22. That isn't. Oh, I see. So that tells me that they also were not a
Correct.
original member.
Correct. First matchup was a win, 11-4.
Wow, Bard Birder.
In November of 1907. Last 10 matchups were 8-2, and the largest margin of victory was 59-21. Smallest margin of victory was 14-13. And that was in 1964. Average points has been 17.74 a game. So, with all that being said, it's no big secret. The Bulldogs coach, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but he's got ties with Heupel from back in their Oklahoma and coaching days. If you'll find that would be good.
Yeah, I'll look that for you.
What was I saying?
Arkansas head coach knows Heupel.
Or Mississippi State head coach.
I'm sorry, Mississippi State. I was reading Arkansas when it popped up.
Yeah, they have some history together. Both coaches said nothing but good things in the media about each other, with the Mississippi State coach saying that he probably had more respect for Heupel than any other person in the NCAA right now.
Jeff Lebby.
Thank you. I knew it.
And they're going to be polite. It's not a rivalry. No. You hardly ever play them. Is that his way of saying, hey, don't beat me too bad? Or Heupel's great, good coach, they're a great team.
I think they spent a lot of time together as young coaches coming up in their coaching ranks. But
man, it's his first season too. He's had a rough go of it.
He had a real rough go of it. I think and they have played better as a whole as the season has progressed.
That's true. Yep.
But he inherited a real mess not because of Mike Leach, but when Mike Leach passed away, Mike had his offense and his recruits, and he had been there long enough to start getting his kids in that he wanted to run football the way he wanted to run the football team. And they're similar, Heupel and Lebby, both their offensive systems have been compared to Mike Leach's style offense in the past. But
if you cut Mike Leach's points in half.
Yeah. And any rate,
rest in peace.
Yes.
I can't believe he's gone, man.
Great coach. I really liked him. I liked him at Washington. I liked him everywhere he ever was.
Yeah.
Was not afraid to speak his mind and was not afraid to
sling it through the ball, boy.
And he wasn't afraid to, be unconventional, even in his press conferences, in his interviews. He was, he walked to work every day.
I heard that.
And
he came across
a really
as
different guy.
Unconventional is a nice way of saying he came across at times like a nut job, whatever. But man, when he passed away, all of the tributes from all these people, and big names talking about how he was like the greatest person they knew, and so just don't know, somebody that is unconventional or whatever else might be the best person on the planet, man. I just never know.
Yeah.
But he was misunderstood for sure. Anyway, so Lebby coached Heupel at Oklahoma.
There you
go. He had played there. He'd gone to Oklahoma himself, got injured, retired, started coaching, and then that's when Heupel was quarterback.
Nice.
So that's how he met him. And then he worked for him, apparently. I guess.
At US or UCF?
I guess maybe? So, yeah.
But not a whole lot of big history there between the teams. And this is a real, I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I probably said it last week when we did the Kentucky game, but I worry more about these games most of the time than I do facing a Florida or an Alabama or a Georgia, because you know what's at stake when you're going against those, and
you know what to expect too.
Good teams like that.
You're not gonna overlook them, right?
No,
up front, yeah.
But for teams like this who are working for basically playing on pride now,
yeah, bragging rights. That's all you got left now. We beat you, whatever.
Playing on pride and trying to salvage a season, trying to send seniors off to some kind of positive note to remember their last year at in Starkville and all that stuff. So that, those kind of matchups, they worry you, especially before the big game, coming up against Georgia.
Bulldog.
Right. Yeah, double Bulldogs. I mean, go figure that one, right?
Hey, if we beat them both, we're going to have a one more for the good guys t-shirt with Smokey with 2 Bulldogs on a leash. 2024.
That would be good. Yeah, that would be good.
Have Little Caesar, that little man from Little Caesar, going Bulldog.
Yeah, or we'll put him in a coonskin hat too. But but I have seen Mississippi State teams come in here, in some of our heyday years. I was selling programs over at Nailing there. I was probably I don't know. I was trying to find it on here. This would have had to been. It was probably 86. That would have been about right time frame, but they come in here and beat us 27-23, and it was like 9-3 at the half.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, they have been noted for defense, right? Mississippi State, and that been their thing. They only had one quarterback drafted in the history of the NFL. Is that? I think that's a stat.
Prescott.
I think that's true. They've always been a defensive. In my mind, I don't follow them much, but
yeah. And of course, you seen the big news today. Dak's out for a month with his injury. He's I guess whatever happened to his knee, tore it off the bone.
Oh man,
or something crazy, but he's going to be out for a month.
Well, I mean, Cowboys, you'll probably go 0-4, but if he'd have played, you'd probably gone 0-4.
I hate it for Dak. I mean, he seems like an all right guy, but fuck the Cowboys.
He does, and he has, in my opinion, played at times well above what I expected him to be.
Yeah,
too. And he's done pretty well. And he's a good dude. That goes a long way with me anymore.
Absolutely.
Man. That's in the name. All right, good guys.
Yeah, good guys.
Can't get talked about unless you're.
I don't think he's worth a $241 million contract, but
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know anybody, I don't know. Well, that's
like Otani and Judge worth $27 for that World Series. They paid them out of our pocket. My God.
Otani's probably worth 30.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Got to give him a little more.
Yeah, he's got to have a little vig on his.
Hey, what about how ballsy you got to be to invite an SEC team on your homecoming? It's homecoming.
Yeah. Well, I think this. I think
Mississippi State's going to suck. Let's get them. Is that what they're thinking?
I don't know. I think that matchup in '86 was homecoming too.
Well, maybe.
I hope we don't. I hope we don't see that again.
You and about
107,000 more. Yeah, no shit.
My God. Can you imagine? Maybe put the goalposts back in. They get them out of the river and put them back in the stadium.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this now. Again, They haven't won a lot of games, but they have been playing better. As far as the team goes, the further the season has went along, they've been in games. They've not been able to finish some of them, or they've ran out of gas 2 quarters or 3 quarters in because they don't have the depth or whatever. But they are playing better, and
they are an SEC team.
Yes,
That's the other.
That's the big one. And we've said it many times on these programs, that these specials, Saturday morning football things we've been doing, that out of every year I've ever watched the SEC or been a fan or followed it, I've never seen a season like this to where literally any team could beat any other team on any given Saturday. Now, we all know that's a big cliche thing a lot of people say, any given Sunday, any given Saturday. But, hey, Florida's quarterback hadn't got hurt.
We might have lost that one.
Well, Georgia. Yeah, we could have lost easily to Florida, but I'm just saying in the scope of team beating any team, you got everybody patting Georgia on the ass about being the latest and greatest team in the SEC and the new whatever, the dynasty and all this other stuff.
And they're one injury away from being 2 lost SEC teams.
I'm telling you right now, Florida gave them all they wanted last Saturday. And if they hadn't got there now, would they have won? Who knows? They would have had they would have stood a hell of a lot better chance to win it, and wasn't able to do it, but was kept it within 10 with a third string quarterback. So,
who was the quarterback that Pierce hit and knocked out of the game?
That was Kentucky's guy.
Yeah, that's right. I can tell that was the last one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that helped us.
Oh,
I hate to see somebody get hurt, but man, that could have been a different.
I mean, and the same thing with Dak. I'm not promoting. I don't like the Cowboys, but I hate,
I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
We don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Well, I did. Bill Lambier.
No,
I hate that bastard, but anybody else, no. But yeah, your homecoming, that's another thing. Hey, let's go.
He had the kind of face even a mother would want to punch.
Boy, I tell you
what I'm saying?
He had to wear a mask part of the time. I looked up greatest Mississippi State football players because I thought, man, let me see if I can name another one. Dak Prescott's number one list. Eric Moulds. Kent Hull. I don't know who that is. D.D. Lewis. DeMonte Russell, which is...
You know who D.D. Lewis was?
D.D. Lewis.
He was a linebacker for the Cowboys for years.
Defensive player of the year, too, apparently. Yeah. Jonathan Banks.
And Moulds, was he was a receiver, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speed guy.
I want to say he played with Buffalo a little bit. Fletcher Cox is a name we know. See, Darius Slade Jr., Fred Smoot, who was one of those, I forget where he played. I just remember that name. It's obviously a name that you remember. But most of these people, Walt Harris, most of these people I have never even heard of. Couldn't tell you. Jarius Norwood. Well, I remember he was a running back for the Falcons. But
I wouldn't have remembered that.
Most of these people I've never heard of.
The one that I do know was a Mississippi State alum and played football. Jerry Clower. Son.
Boy, I miss him.
Yeah. He was a bulldog. But so, we can't spend a lot of time on Mississippi State just because we don't have a real, it's never really been a rivalry type of deal for the lack of the times and the amount that we played each other. But they are an SEC team. It will be
and we did lose to Arkansas.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And
don't be overlooking them going into Georgia. That's a bad news.
we were talking about Feinbaum there last week too. He had Dylan Sampson on his show last week, and Sampson was saying that, they felt like they learned something the first bye week of the season, after the first bye week of the season, that their preparation for Mississippi State was going to be exactly the way they prepare for, every team from week to week. Of course, there's a lot of that.
Easier said than done.
Standardized answers,
sure.
Of course, but
I mean, what is he going to say? We're not going to do as much prep this time because they're not as good. I mean,
but he did give their defense props and did say, even though they were having a difficult season, that they had also, they know that they have been playing better as the season has went on. But the big question, for me and for you, I would imagine, is, is the offense going to wake up? I feel like Nico probably had his best game as a volunteer against Kentucky. I mean, he threw for almost 300 yards.
His best game against a team that wasn't a scrub, maybe.
Well, I mean,
he threw for 500 yards against Kent State.
Well, yeah, but
what I'm saying is against a team, an opponent, a real opponent.
I guess I'm saying that as in
that's obvious.
That don't count.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
But
yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Right. I think his passing accuracy was better than it has been, period. He really did have a couple of drop balls that could have been touchdowns, but coulda, woulda, shoulda, that doesn't make anything. But I agree. I think that he had his best technical game.
Yeah.
So that was good. And they were doing some others while you're looking that up. They were doing some other stuff that I really liked. Speaking of Dylan Sampson, we talked about this, is that they were giving him an opportunity to run downhill. They were pitching it out and giving him a running start.
Yeah.
And then we touched on it just a little bit, this upbeat, fast tempo offense that they should be doing. I think that you heard somebody say something about first downs or whatever. I don't think that's it. I think they just don't understand it. Like the other 2 teams ago did, I just think they're not got it exactly right yet.
Maybe, and it may have something to do with Nico being young, because I'll say this, one of the things that I noticed in that game was there were several times Sampson was wide open out in the flats. Now, he wasn't the primary read, but Nico is not processing that fast enough like Hooker was able to do, to go, okay, 1, 2, 3, bam, there's my guy. There's my safety valve. I know he's there.
That's right.
And let's just say this about that. Dylan Sampson in open space is a dangerous man.
That's right. That's why you give him opportunity to get in open space with a running start.
But
anyway,
Nico was 28 of 38 for 292 yards and 1 TD to Kitzelman, and of course had 1 dropped. And then
at least one. That one hit Brew right between the letters.
Yeah.
Or whoever, was that who it was?
No, it was
11.
It was whoever the third, whoever he is.
Bam, right? I mean,
but we had 1 touchdown dropped. That one was a big drop. There was nobody the nearest Kentucky player was in Lexington.
That's right.
If he had caught that one.
And that one where he dove into the end zone and is a great throw and a very great catch attempt. And if he'd have made that, it would have been Odell Beckham kind of thing. It would have been great. So I don't count that as a drop ball, but it is encouraging to see that he's putting the ball on target. At least better than he has.
But, as far as our offense goes, we had 292 yards passing. We had right at 200 yards rushing. I think Nico had 14. The backup had 30 something. And then, of course, Sampson by the end of the game had, I think it was 147 or 151, something like that. So that's a pretty balanced attack, but yet we couldn't help to think. I couldn't help but think Tennessee just couldn't get out of its own way.
Felt like that about every game. Really?
I mean,
I agree.
I loved the accuracy. I loved the improvement. I love the fact that he didn't make any really silly things. He almost made they almost had turnover when they got that sack there in the third quarter.
Boy,
I believe it was the third or towards the end of the third or start of the fourth.
He got hit and he didn't knock it loose. Yeah.
But but still yet we're still getting behind the chains. We're still having silly penalties. We're still getting, I wonder if they ever thought about maybe, taking one of their guards and moving them to tackle. Ohio State did that last week against Penn State. They took both guards and moved them to start and tackle and put the guys that the backup tackles, put them at guard.
Just because they were getting eat up.
Yeah, just because they just couldn't. And they had injuries.
Well, and you know what? I like it because you said Ohio State did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, they won too. You do what you got to do.
Well, they ran the ball,
get the job done.
They primarily ran the ball down Penn State's throat. I don't want to. I'm not saying that because we need to do what they do or anything like that. But if you look at the NFL and or in that example, looking at college, the year the Browns made the playoffs with Baker, they had 11 different starting offensive linemen.
Yeah.
So guys were playing. Now, big difference between 12 games in college versus, 16, 17 games in NFL for a period of years versus, well, even if it was 3 years, it's a big difference. I get that too, but I don't know. We've been saying this since Oklahoma. Is this the week they come out of their funk? Is this the week they settle in and they play as a team? Is this the week? Is this the week? Is this the week? Is this the week? And
well, they only got one more week to play that game. So if that's going to be I don't know, but here, how about this as a theory? If they come out against Mississippi State at homecoming and just light them up, let's just say that happens. Let's play devil's advocate here. They just light them up and throw 600 yards, pile on the points, whatever, beat them by 60, and everybody in town is going crazy. You and I are like, my God, they come alive or whatever.
Yeah.
In order to say, hey, we're coming to Athens full strength.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think, because here's what I wonder. Heupel's a quarterback, right? He's an offensive-minded coach first.
Heisman winning national champion quarterback.
No, second. He came in second.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
still, right there, top of the heap, college quarterback. You know, he sees this shit that we see. He's not sitting there going, "Oh, you." Is this where the real question for me is this where Heupel sits his offensive coordinator down and says, "Listen, we're doing it my way, or there ain't going to be another conversation. See ya. I'm taking over. You can go bring me Gatorade." Because they're buddies too, you see.
Yeah.
Right? So is that what it's going to take?
He was promoted from within.
He was. And a lot of times
or has he been doing that and not getting, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I would think if that was the case, then yes, that maybe.
Does this offense, the setup of this offense look like any other we've had since Heupel's been here?
Well,
not to me.
Here's the bottom line. Well, but you had Alex Golish calling all the plays.
Well, that's right.
Who had been with him forever as well.
I don't think you bring your buddy's OC and not let him call plays, though.
I'm just, as far as playing devil's advocate goes, I'm pinging it back to your pong on that one. But, the bottom line with that question is this. If it doesn't, and if it doesn't get there by the end of the year, here's the thing. Same way with like Ohio State. You're not going to fire Ryan Day. Who are you going to get? Who are you going to get that is going to keep you any more relevant in the top 5 programs in college football for the last however long it's been since Meyer left? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Regardless of a national championship or not, who else are you going to get to come in there? So that tells me one thing. Coordinators are going to lose jobs. And same way with this guy, same way with our coaching staff. Listen, if they said they were going to fire Josh Heupel tomorrow or at the end of the season because, God forbid something crazy happens.
Yeah, we lose out or something.
Right. Who are you going to get? Who are you going to go get?
You're not.
You going to go get Billy Napier?
Oh, that'd be
after
great.
They fire his ass in Florida?
That's coming.
That's coming big time.
You're going to go back and you're going to beg Lane Kiffin to come back up here and fuck you again?
Yeah. I mean.
Wait. Yeah, so Calamari can't coach football.
No, Calamari.
He'll jump ship, but he can't coach football.
Yeah.
So,
and Barnes has got his hands full. Vitello's winning championships.
We need to start talking about basketball.
Yeah.
At least,
and the new girl over there is man. I don't know. They're playing like the Globetrotters.
Yeah, they're playing tonight too. So yeah, they're
but my point being is coordinators lose jobs first.
Sure. Yeah.
Before head coaches do. That's the last of the chopping block.
And they know it too.
And they know it. Yeah. So I imagine, and I'm not saying we need to fire the guy. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying I guarantee you his seat's pretty warm. If we're 8 games in and we're not,
improving.
We're not improving.
And what's scary, I mean, you were saying that.
Or,
and
are we improving?
I don't know. We'll see. I was just thinking that about you talking about who they're going to get and whatever. It's like, okay, look at the standards now. Oh. Our offensive coordinator, the offense has been lackluster. I don't know whose fault it is. It's a number of things, and we don't know for sure. We can see what's happening, but not why. So you're 2 or 3 good plays in Arkansas away from having an undefeated number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
Are you not?
Absolutely.
You beat Arkansas. Tennessee's number 1 if we beat Arkansas.
Oh, absolutely.
100% chance.
100%.
Number 1. Okay. Even before this last win. We're number one. Okay. Yeah. Then what? See how our expectations are hinged on one touchdown or something?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know for a fact that the offense has been a lot better. You know it. Everybody knows it. And that guy knows it too.
Well,
and hopefully he can adjust and they can sit down together. They're buddies, but they're also, he works for Heupel effectively and say, listen,
it's ultimately
we need to
business.
do this. These are you're talking about the offensive line. Here's just what I see. Our offensive line does pretty well in straight run blocking. Mm-hmm. Okay. If they get momentum going, they do okay. Lateral movement's the problem, especially on the tackles, left tackle. Okay. So, like to your point, and what they did do some of this, they'd line up a back or a tight end over there to give them a little help.
Yeah.
And hey, what's wrong with that? Do that.
Nothing.
Okay. You're going to have, unless you have a stark improvement, you're going to have to do that at Georgia. Because Georgia is by far the best team we will have faced.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether or not they're the best team in the country or not, they are definitely this version the best team that we will face.
Yeah.
So, but don't overlook what's right in front of you. And I think to your point, if they don't show up, they're going to have very little confidence going into Athens.
Oh yeah.
That's what I think.
For sure.
You struggle Saturday. Then what? What's next week look like?
Yeah. But again, next week looks like, redemption.
Yeah.
Next week looks like national, I agree with you, but there's also that part of me that says,
well, that chip on your shoulder is a hell of a lot bigger if you beat the dog piss out of Mississippi State.
Oh, absolutely.
You walk down there and it's like, listen, we got one bulldog. We're coming after another. And they see that tape and they already, listen, Georgia already knows our defense is better than theirs.
Yeah.
They already know that. Okay. They know that. So they are concentrating on what? Their defensive pressure on Nico.
Mm-hmm.
That is all they're doing. If we come up with something this game, Mississippi State game, to where you put Kirby Smart and the rest of them on notice that, hey, we figured it out and we're coming down there next, it's a whole different attitude walking down there.
Absolutely. So. No, absolutely. You're 100% correct. And listen, they're going to Mississippi State, Georgia, UTEP or whoever the hell it is, UTSA. Is it UTEP or UTSA? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's UTEP.
Or Vanderbilt. I thought it was. They're going to do the exact same thing that I said Arkansas would do. They're going to put pressure. They're going to give different looks, and they're going to try to confuse the young quarterback, and they're going to stop the run. Or they're going to try and stop the run, and they're going to make him beat them. And guess what? He couldn't do it against Arkansas.
No, he couldn't.
So, that's the math. That's how it breaks down as far as the game plan against us going from here out.
Oh, yeah, the game plan against us is easy. Shut down the offense, score more than 20 points.
Yeah.
That's it.
Stop the run.
Yeah. You score more than 20 points, you beat us. Basically, currently, or you're certainly going to put us in a position to where,
or you try to get up by at least 14.
Yeah, that's been the hitch in our giddy up is not getting up
because we don't have that electric. We don't have that Jalen Hyatt. We don't have that Hooker that can make those progressions fast and get rid of the ball. We don't have that speed guy in the slot that can, outrun everybody and be the big game changer. We don't have that.
Right.
Brew's a great guy, I'm sure. He's probably, from everything I hear, he's a great leader in the club, in the locker room, but he's not super fast and he's not I mean, you think Brew McCoy gets drafted?
Yeah, but not high.
You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, not high. Yeah,
but, and we don't have those guys.
High competition position too.
Right now, that we may have those guys on paper, but those guys haven't went out there and proved it, haven't wanted it and went and got it the way you think they would, be doing it. And it may not be anything from, it may not be on a lack of effort side. It just may be on a lack of that's all they can do. I don't know. Thornton some weeks looks like a game breaker.
Yeah.
And then other weeks, he's got cinder block. He's got oven mitts on his hands, like somebody stealing bases in the MLB. So it's a
One oven mitt and hurt his shoulder.
Yeah. I do think that we've got a lot of young talent and winning the way we have, and finding ways to win games, and not in the traditional hyper way that we're used to seeing, is going to make us a better team for the future. But future Saturday.
That's right.
And it's called Mississippi State, and you're going to have to go handle your business. So with that being said, I have thoroughly enjoyed my Belhaven beer and my Jaime Garcia Reserva Especial in Bellicoso with the broadleaf wrapper. It's just, I'm about into the second, third, into the heart of this thing now. And it's just now really starting to pick up, strength wise. I said it was medium off the first. It's now more medium to full. But still great flavor notes. Again, right now it's more a little bit of that natural tobacco sweetness with a little bit of pepper. It's not a pepper bomb like some things coming out of Nicaragua, but very, very flavorful, very chewy smoke texture.
Yeah, and one thing about that too that I've experienced, because I mentioned this before, I smoke that one at Trailhead a lot because the construction of it's so good. And I don't know how, maybe it's how they actually the blend is made, but the ash is always super tight and stays on with that cigar. You see how that it's just stacked, and every one I've had of those is that way. I'll be over there with one of the Toros, and I'll have ash that big.
Yeah.
And not, it improves the smoke because it kills it off. But
well, for you golfers or outside people that like to smoke outside and stuff like that, this is a great cigar. And in my opinion, one of the reasons why it's a great cigar for outside is the broadleaf wrapper.
Oh, yeah.
It's a much thicker wrapper. It's much more hardy. It's much more durable as far as the humidity really affecting it a lot, or the dryness of where you're at. So if you're doing a lot of outside stuff, you can certainly try the Jaime Garcia Reserva Especial and or any other broadleaf wrapper cigars. That would be the La Roma de Cuba, and the baseline is another great one. The Umbagog Bronze back is another really good broadleaf cigar. Let's see, what is the AJ has got one. Oh, come on, brain, you can do it. It's the Enclave in broadleaf. It's a really good, would do good in those same types of situations. So if you live somewhere where it's extra humid or maybe it's extra dry, or extra hot, extra cold. Broadleaf wrappers are your friends for stuff like that,
extreme temperatures,
for the golf course too. So
yeah, and extreme. You can abuse them. Drop them, and the only thing about the Connecticut broadleaf is my favorite wrapper for aesthetics and to feel. I don't know if it's my favorite necessarily for flavor, but it's up there. But for aesthetics and feel, because it just feels like something somebody just rolled out of the garden. It's ruddy. It's just
sometimes they're a little rustic. Sometimes they're most all the time they're going to be some prominent veins and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's got a look to it. But the one thing about it, when I light them the first time, I'll toast the foot, and when I go to light it, I'll tilt just a little bit because I want to get the burn line on the edge of that thing a little better, because the wrapper's thicker. And if you don't get that burn line correct from the get-go, you're going to be touching it up and it's going to piss you off.
Yeah, like when you're toasting the foot, that's a really good point, actually. When you're toasting the foot, you want to get the end of that cigar. You want it kind of red around the circumference, around the rim, the outer rim of the whole cigar. And what that does is it, for lack of better words, I'm sure there's a word for it, but it kind of melts and kind of welds all that together to where it's going to ensure a much better burn.
Yeah, and not just aesthetically better too. The cigar is designed to be puffed and tasted with the wrapper and the filler and binder burning at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get that wrapper burning at the same time, you're going to have canoeing, you're going to have all this stuff. So just take a little bit of extra time. The nice thing about the Connecticut broadleaf, if you do overtouch it a little bit, it ain't that big a deal.
Yeah.
It's it's not like a regular Connecticut shade wrapper. You just touch it and the whole thing turns black.
Yeah. Looks like it's got soot on it.
Yeah.
That's How about yours?
Smoke. Oh man, I'm going to smoke this down till it's nothing.
Yeah, those are great, huh?
And this is the best one I've ever had.
Yeah.
I've had it longer, obviously, but man, it's just sweet and it very reminiscent of that beer. Just got that. And for this Cameroon sweetness is over the top, and this is peaked right here.
Yeah.
So,
is it very toothy?
Yeah, but not as
toothy as some.
Yeah.
Cameroon typically is a very toothy wrapper.
Right. Yeah. And it is, but it seems like certainly on the Don Carlos, that's a more toothy wrapper to me than on the Leva G. But maybe it's a size, I don't know. Issue. But it is toothy to some degree. But man, it's just
I like a toothy wrapper.
I understand.
That's something for you out there if you're going to your local B&M stores, when you're instead of just grab, I remember they said that about the Leva G or or this one or that one. Look for that wrapper. It's got that tooth to it. And that tooth, it just looks like little empty hair follicles almost, is the best way I could describe it. Little bumps. Looks like your cigar maybe has a little bit of eczema without the whiteness or
the disease
ashiness,
part.
without the disease part. All right. So what's your score? What are you thinking about this game?
Okay.
You want to go first or you want me to go?
I'll go first. You got me thinking now. I don't think if we were to really take off on it, what would be a score that he would feel like he was running it up on him? I'm going to say 45-17. Tennessee, of course.
Okay. I'm going to say 37-10. 36-10. That's what I'm going to say.
Both of those scores mean that Tennessee's offense showed up.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you think about it this way. You got you would have beat Kentucky 37-18 if Doogie Howser could have hit all his kicks.
Right. True. What'd you say? 30?
I'm going to say 37-10.
37-10.
So, you know, if we had gotten those kicks,
yeah.
And don't get down on that kid either. He's young, man. I mean, he looks like he's
Real
9.
young.
He looks like he's 9. He's a freshman, and he's hit some big kicks.
He's kicking footballs older than him.
Yes, so. and he's made some really good kicks this year for us. So he just got the yips. He'll get out of that. But
you know what? Too, we get down on kickers like that's easy shit they're doing.
Oh my God!
They got 100,000 people in person watching them kick something, and I can't take a pee in front of somebody.
And going forward in their hopes of a professional career, there's only 32 jobs.
That's right. 32 starting jobs.
Yeah.
And that's it. And exactly. So
no, it ain't easy.
No, it ain't easy. I mean, hell, So don't get down on the kicker. Now, if he keeps missing them, free market kicking system, they'll replace him.
We'll put the Aussie in there.
And just keep going for it. That means every down, every series is at least 4 downs worth.
Lord have mercy. Well, that's it, and that's that. That's all I know to say about it. Like I said at the first of the thing, and we're not going to get far in the weeds on this at all. Jamie wrote a really, really good blog post for the website. onemoreforthegoodguys.com. Go to that, check it out. We the people. I will just say that. And in our culture and with everything, and what we say on this program from week to week, be kind to one another. It doesn't cost anything to be kind, but there's always a price to be paid for cruelty. And at this point in time, we all need the we in We the People more than ever. So,
absolutely. I mean, that's what I hope too, is that the country, let's just come together and forget, we're Americans first, right?
That's right. United we stand.
That's right.
Divided we fall.
We did forget to say though about because we were saying, single, this for me is like buy as many as you can get. Definitely box worthy. Mine's a box worthy for sure.
Well, yeah. Make sure you like the Cameroon. If you've never had a Cameroon wrapper before, make sure you like that. But if you do, there's no question about it. And those are very affordable.
Oh yeah, $5 a stick.
And they're
all the time,
and their quality.
Yeah.
If you like Connecticut broadleaf, Nicaraguan tobacco, box worthy for sure. So that's the Oliva Jeep in Churchill is the size Jamie was smoking, and mine is the Jaime Garcia Reserva Especial in Bellicoso. You want to do another one?
Oh yeah.
You heard it here first. Cheers. One more for the good guys.
Go Vols.
You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find.